We met in 9th grade and were really best of friends all through high school and spent lots and lots of time together. I was in love with him from the beginning. I knew that he was someone that I cared deeply about and was interested in pursuing. And when we were 18 and 19, his dad got really, really ill. He was the last child left at home, and so there was a lot of responsibilities on him for that. And so our relationship really built its foundation during that time. His dad passed away, and we kind of went through that together, and shortly after that our relationship became more serious. Around that same time, he shared with me that he was attracted to men, and we talked about it at length. And he shared that while he was attracted to men, he wanted a family and wanted to be a father, and it was a risk I was willing to take because I loved him so deeply. So we got married, and shortly after we became pregnant, and our first pregnancy actually resulted in a miscarriage, and that became an even more solidifying event where we bonded and became closer. And then our next 2 pregnancies were successful, and we had our sons. But during my second pregnancy, I really started to notice that something was wrong. We had problems before, like any married couple does, but I didn't feel like it was anything that was insurmountable or that we couldn't work through with time. And there definitely became a growing gap between the two of us. And I chalked a lot of it up to the fact that I was pregnant and I was getting big, and you don't really feel desirable during pregnancy anyway, and so I just reasoned it away. And after our second son was born, instead of coming back together, that gap grew even larger. And I approached him several times to see what was wrong, and he would never share with me, and or always had a reason. And there were a lot of times where, after our son was born, our second son, where he was gone late at night, but he was gone working out and spending time with male friends, which is something that he had struggled with. He didn't feel like he had a lot of male relationships that were good and men that he could rely on in his life. And so knowing that friendships with men and becoming more physically fit were both big priorities to him, it was something that I was okay with. I was okay with him being gone. I had a new baby to worry about, and so I was exhausted, but I still sensed that there was definitely something wrong. And in January, the end of January in 2008, I found out that he had been exploring a gay lifestyle, and I didn't find out from him. And in fact, it would be about 3.5 years later before he and I would even talk about that. So it wasn't something that he was willing to talk about, and so I left, and that was the last day we would live in the same home. And life as I knew it just crumbled around me, and for the next few months I would just go through the motions of life. I had, like I said, by that time about a 6-month-old and a almost 3-year-old. I had plenty to keep my mind occupied, and but I didn't feel myself. In fact, to look back on that time, I don't remember much of it. It's just sort of this void in my life that I don't have a lot of memories of. And it was bad. It was bad for a long time between he and I. And I was bitter, and I was angry and frustrated. And it would stay that way for about 2 years. And then there came this point where we just began talking again, the way that we talked when we were 14 and 15 years old, where we just shared what was going on in our life. And all of a sudden, this healing started to happen. And I had started to feel it within myself, but it wasn't something that I could share with him because I was still hurting and I was still recovering from the pain. And now it felt even more complete because I was able to have my friend back, and I was able to share things that I was going through, and I was able to listen to things he was going through. And it was tricky for a while. It was tricky to hear those things. It was tricky to know about relationships that he was pursuing or men that he was interested in. That was new territory, and it was awkward, but it became okay. And it became something that was him. It was a part of him. And really, I began to see that he was showing me for the first time all of him. And it was a beautiful thing to realize that and to see that I could show him all of me, because I realized I was holding back, because I knew that there was something that was off. You just know. One of my biggest concerns was, what do I do with this with my kids? How does this affect them? How do I teach them the things that I believed in? And now suddenly their father, a man that I wanted them to love and who cared deeply for them, was living this lifestyle contrary to what anything I had ever believed. And so how do I balance that? How do I be a good co-parent and do what's best for my kids? And it came little by little. It's not something that was like this major aha for me. It was just as we went through those experiences, and as we met people, and as we just practiced, just trial and error, it became a beautiful part of our life. I'm not the same person that I was before, and that's good, because I am better. I've gotten to meet some of the most kind and amazing people, both in the gay community and supporters of the gay community. Other spouses that I've met going through this have become just rocks in my life that I am able to look to and also to be there for. And that's very healing, to be able to go through an experience with someone and know that they'll soon find a strength inside of themselves that they had no idea existed. And it's just a beautiful thing. I've come to a realization that we're here in this life for experiences, to learn and to grow. My relationship with my Savior has become something so different than what it was. It was very surface, and it was very just what I thought I was supposed to say and going through the motions. And it's so very real to me now, because I've been able to literally turn over something that was too heavy for me. I experienced something that I could not handle on my own, and I had to turn to Him. And I'm better for that. I'm better for my relationship with Him. I believe that my sons are going to grow up to be amazing men, because they have the opportunity to have a father who is gay. And I never, 4 years ago, I would have never believed that I would sit here and say that. But I tell you, and I say that with sureness, with believing it completely and totally in my own heart, that they are better for having this in their lives, for being able to love people unconditionally and to recognize that we're not all the same, that we all have stuff that we go through, and we all are different, and those differences are good and are wonderful and are a part of life that is absolutely the spice of life. It gets so much better. So much better.